Yeah, sorry. Thank you very much for sharing, Daniel. Because to be accepted, to be understood is really a basic need, especially for teenagers. Yeah, that happened to my son too. I observed that he was quite different in front of different groups of people, like trying to portray a certain image so that he's well accepted. So during your teenage years, like you mentioned just now, that you put up a wall and you are afraid that maybe you may not be accepted by friends. Did this really happen, or it was just a fear, just a worry?
No, because as I said, like I was actually quite alone in primary school. So I guess my fear was it reverting back to that. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I didn't want to go back to this state where I was mostly alone. And I guess it is partly due to that, but partly it's also this fear. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of my friends there, they wouldn't actually leave me if I actually became more myself. But it's actually most of the thoughts I concocted up in myself that led to this. Yeah. So it's probably partially my imagination as well.
So it's worrying about the future that did not happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Frank?
Hey, thanks, Daniel. Your journey is typical, right, of most teenagers. The balancing and the juggling between family, the social life, schoolwork, and friends. These are really the 4 core areas that all teenagers juggle with all the time. The first question I really have for you is, having been through this journey and discovering a few things yourself, if you go back onto it again and you start all over, how do you think parents can help children juggle with all these things? What kind of relationship should there be between child and parents so that the child is able to bring this forward to the parents to help them understand what he's going through, like you did? And how can parents eyeball their kids to understand that, hey, they are going through all these problems so that they can help the kid through? What do you think? What can you offer for parents?
For me, I guess the first thing is to genuinely be more interested in their children's lives. So just asking them about their schoolwork, whether they have trouble coping with it. And sometimes it's also good to ask them if they have any issues with their friends, like ask the children if they have issues with their friends, because most of school life, despite mostly being for studying, a major part is their friendships. And honestly, their relationships with their friends will make or break their school experience. And usually that is the main issue here. So it would be really nice if parents put in more thought and attention to their kids about these areas of their life. And I would like to say that initially, the kids might come out as rebellious in the sense that they don't really want to answer your questions about it. But I think if you persist and ask over time, there will eventually be a breakthrough, and eventually they will start sharing more and opening up. And this will really help the children and the kids.
Thank you. There's a question from one of the participants asking how you would like your mother to engage you in the teen years.
I see. I guess.
While you're thinking, as a mother, sons are usually close to their moms, but that doesn't stay that way all the time. I think as boys generally grow up more, they tend to drift away from their moms and may even find moms to be annoying because we are too, we fuss too much or we are too concerned. And this may be felt that it's kind of suffocating or inhibiting them. So perhaps you might want to go along that consideration as you prepare your answer.
Well, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, my mom was actually really, really overprotective of me, and I guess it's the way she overreacts to whenever I present an issue. It's like whenever I say like I didn't like there's something that went wrong or something, then she overreacts like, oh, are you okay? Are you okay? But I think that's going a bit too far. I don't know. It kind of like it felt a bit annoying to me as it felt like there's a lot of like pity and sympathy, which I don't know, in a sense it kind of puts me down in a sense. Like I know she doesn't mean it for that to happen, but there's that effect that imparted on me. So I guess it's better to be more neutral, like show some care, but don't like go too far with it to the point that the kid feels overwhelmed by it. Yeah, I guess something. Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to illustrate that by giving an example? For example, when you tell her something and then the way she answers you kind of makes you feel less willing to share more. Could you think of an example?
I guess like if I say like I didn't do well for a test, and then she'll be like, oh, are you okay? Do you need tuition? Do you need help with these areas or this? I feel like that's a bit overbearing. I guess a much better approach should be to tell me is like, oh, you've really tried your best, and then there's always time to improve, and you can always try harder and do better on the next test. Something like that is a much better approach. Yes.
Okay. So to be accepting and then encouraging.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Rather than throwing all sorts of helplines to you.
Yeah, that is really overwhelming. Yes.
Okay. There's another question here. Is it common for teenagers to sleep late between 2 and 4 a.m. and then wake up at 3 p.m.? What is your sleeping pattern like?
It definitely is really common. I think there were situations where I slept really late. Like I'll sleep at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. In fact, because I had a lot of free time after army, I realized there was this weird pattern where I would keep on sleeping later and later that I actually went one full circle. So there were moments where I slept at like 1 p.m. and then I woke up at like midnight. It just gets really bad. Like, and I feel like a lot of this had to do with, for me at least, is my friends. I realized that my sleep cycle is so bad because my friends' sleep cycles are so bad. So we actually meet up and play online games together at like really weird timings. And then because there is this incentive to be awake then, because all your friends are awake late, and that's why, yeah. But after I realized that actually it's quite unhealthy for me to do that. Hence I reverted back to a normal sleep cycle, and I just decided that no, it's not worth it. Even if my friends are awake really late at night, I don't think it's worth putting my health at risk for that. So yeah. But I guess some teenagers might find it hard to do that as they're still in the phase of, sleep late and all that. Yeah.
So why do you think teenagers have this love for sleeping late and waking up late?
I guess one main reason is because their parents are asleep. So I guess it gives them more freedom, definitely, because their parents are sleeping, then they can just say anything, do whatever they want. And yeah, and I guess there's this appeal to just being awake at night. Just, I don't know. Yeah.
Thank you for the insight. So Frank, what do you have to say to parents? Do they need to be concerned about their teenagers staying up late, or really just, let them grow up through that phase?
Yeah, it's understanding the new world, I guess. If parents can and step out of their comfort zone, which is about fear for the kid and the studies and the academics, and then try and get into the areas of unknown. What is the new world, and explore what the kids are going to be going through their lives and how they are preparing themselves for the future, how they see the future. I think they will begin to understand more why kids do what they do and how they are different from the way we are. I think our tendency is to live our kids' world the way we lived ours, which I think should not be the case. So there needs to be a great attempt on the part of parents to really understand the kids' world, and let them take the lead. Yeah, let them take the lead. Relate well to them so they can take you into their world. And then you'll begin to understand all these things. Because if you don't, then you get all these maladjusted thinking, right? That goes into your head. Oh, my son is not studying. Oh, he's doing something very bad on the internet, and so on and so forth, which is actually unwarranted, isn't it? So there needs to be a real curiosity, like what Daniel said. You know, he learned curiosity as an attitude and mindfulness. There needs to be great curiosity on the part of the parents to understand the kids' world, so that they can help them navigate into their world, into the future. And the only way we can do that is understand their world, and then with our wisdom and our experience, help guide them into it.
Thank you. May, there's a question here. Do you have any advice for secondary school kids? Do you, during your time as a vice principal, I'm sure you have parents coming to you with similar concerns about their kids not sleeping early and waking up late, especially over weekend?
I think the weekend is okay. Can give them as a treat if they, you know, on weekdays, they do their work and teachers don't complain about them being sleepy in class. So that's fine. Yeah, I think, you know, it is very common that they like to stay up late. I think part of the problem is also like in some schools or parents also, the expectations, after a while, the children think that, you know, they really have to put in that much effort because they don't know how to manage their time. So tended to spend too much time on a small piece of work that really didn't require that much work. And therefore, you know, they had to work so late into the night, which is really not healthy. Yeah, as much as possible, it's better to ask them to really look at all the pieces of work that they need to do and then manage that time, like how much time, you know, to spend on each.
Okay.
I think, yeah, it is, especially this circuit breaker, I'm very worried that many would have, you know, been having this sleep pattern, and to revert back to the normal sleep pattern will be quite difficult.
Okay. So I have kids who are now in their early 20s. One's grown up, started working, another one who is still going through university. And they are also night birds. They like to stay up late and sleep in. Personally, I've kind of let them manage their own sleep cycle because they seem to be able to adapt. It's like kids, you know, they go on a holiday somewhere else in a totally different time zone. They adapt far quicker than we as adults or older adults. So one of the things that we teach in the mindfulness course is in the mindfulness-based stress reduction course, the foundation attitude of trust. It seems like a lot of parents have difficulty trusting their kids. And so when I was teaching at NUS, I see these students living in the residential college. You parents have no way of knowing what time they sleep, what they're up to at the you know, at the residential college, or if they're staying on campus. And it's really important to trust them early in life, so that they don't suddenly become such free birds in the residential college that they totally don't know how to manage their time. And I found myself having to give them some guidelines on how to prioritize what's important and how they stop dealing with things becoming urgent all the time because they're not prioritizing. So trust them early in secondary school, especially when they're Sec 1, Sec 2, just, you know, let's chill on them. And so if they make a mistake, you know, they are not managing their sleep cycle well, they have time to learn from the setbacks of falling asleep in class or not doing well in exams. And then they know that they have to start to adjust. So let them be responsible for the outcomes of their decisions. And Sec 1, Sec 2, it's fine. They got 4 more years to recover from any so-called misjudgment that they make. So what do you think, Daniel? Do you think that's a sound advice to parents to let you guys take more responsibility when you're younger?
I definitely think so, yes. Because my parents actually really nagged me to sleep early, like back in the secondary school days. And I think after a while, after I actually just didn't listen to them, so I just went ahead and sleep late anyways. And over time, I realized that I was actually able to adapt, like what you said. Like even though I sleep late, I managed to cope with it. And when I feel like I needed more sleep, then I'll just sleep earlier. Like it really just based on my body. And if I feel I can take it, I'll go on and take it. Yeah. And I really feel it's a really good advice to just let the parents. I ask the parents to just let their kids have a go at it. Yeah. I think they will know how to deal with it.
Thank you. I was a rebellious kid myself. So if my parents tell me to do A, I will definitely not do A, I'll do B. And then when they stop telling me to do A, then suddenly I will start to do A. So, so maybe it was the inside of my own psyche that I realized that when I have kids, I don't try to tell them what to do once they're secondary school age. Like they said, you cannot have a boyfriend. I had a boyfriend. And they just didn't know. So, do you think that you always know what your kids are up to? And if you don't trust them, then they'll never tell you. It's not that they're not doing it. They just don't tell you. Okay. Can you ask if, okay, so this question is for you, Daniel. Is it good for parents to set some boundaries like not sleeping late? You may have answered that somewhat.
I guess you can definitely try, but eventually it depends on your kid. If your kid feels like he doesn't want to do it, no matter how many boundaries you set or what you tell him, he will just go ahead and not listen to it. So I guess you can try to set boundaries, and if they don't listen to it, just let it be. And I think over time, they will actually find out the hard way. Like if they realize sleeping late is bad for them, they'll fix it. And if they can sleep late and still cope well, then they'll just continue doing that. But mostly, I think they will turn out fine. Yes.
Thank you, Daniel. I do agree with you. Yeah. How about?
Can I take it?
Yes, Frank.
Can I follow up on that?
Yes.
Okay, sleeping late. Okay, that is one of the boundaries. But when you take boundaries as a general, there may be other boundaries that we need to be very mindful about. Boundaries which we are not careful, we will get ourselves into trouble, right? So this is a difficult part. Boundaries is a general concept. If we continuously negotiate all boundaries and we continuously put down boundaries that parents lay on us and always negotiate ourselves out of that, then are we in any way, this is a question for you, Danny, are we in any way setting ourselves up to be disrespectful of boundaries? Because those boundaries are going to come up in various forms when you go on later in life, right? And there are going to be rules, there are going to be regulations. So how do we walk this very thin line? Because if you don't respect boundaries at all, then you become a freebie wherever you go, and then you get yourself into trouble. So how do we walk this line carefully?
I think the main thing is that it's definitely important to follow boundaries, but the thing is, as kids, they will definitely not think about that. Their priorities lies elsewhere, and to them, boundaries is just something holding them down. Hence, they will definitely break these boundaries, but eventually there will be situations where they break a boundary set by parents or anyone, and there will be consequences. And then it's through these consequences where they learn that, these boundaries are there not just to hold them down, but it's actually good for them. It's there to guide them, to make them go in a certain correct direction. And I think that's what I learned. That's what most of my friends learn. And over time, we'll just reach the point where we understand the need for these boundaries and we'll try to adhere to them. So I guess it's like a learning process. You can't just come out immediately expecting everyone to just follow the boundaries, because they're just kids, they won't just adhere to them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you think that when you were in university, you tend to follow some of these boundaries that your parents sort of introduced, but you didn't follow before, and then started following them when you're in university and away from them?
I guess the main thing that I really the boundaries is mostly to clean up after myself. I guess that's not really a boundary, but in a sense, at home, they're always pestering me they want me to be independent. And I guess staying at RC, it just forced me to be independent, you know. And from that, I actually learned a lot. I need to shower before I sleep. I need to do this. I need to take care of my hygiene. I need to be disciplined and wash my clothes, everything. So I guess me leaving my parents in that way really forced me to become more disciplined in my life. Which if I was at home, I'll just be completely reliant on them. And yeah.
So the freedom actually made you different.
Yes, actually. Yeah.
Great. Okay, how do you help a teenager to overcome telephone and online game addiction that affect their studies? Also, how to approach them in a proper way, especially when they're playing games through early morning and the next day, and they behave so tired with no energy to study. Who would like to take this one?
Well, I guess Daniel has kind of answered that question in somewhat, isn't it? It's all about choices and consequences, right, Daniel? Yeah, and I mean, they know the parents know, and they are worried about the safety and the progress of their kid, and they want them to do well for their own future, for the kid's future. And if they begin to engage in any activities that doesn't seem to land in that direction, then they're going to get worried, right? And no matter how much they worry, the parents need to understand that they cannot really control the kids' behavior, right? Especially when they get into the teens. So the teens have to figure this out for themselves. And if they're going to be playing games and getting up late and not studying and the grades are going to suffer, then the kids do know, they are intelligent enough to know the consequences. And the parents have to, as Angie said, the parents have to trust them enough to understand that they know their consequences, they know where it's all leading to. All the parents have to do when they're going through this rather difficult period is to love them and love them fiercely and still be there for the kid when they're going through all these problems. You know, pick them up, dust them off, put them back on the track again, you know. And as long as they keep doing that, the kid will know that they are being loved. And that's very important, right? No matter what the kid does, if the kid knows that I am loved and I do belong, then they will figure out the way forward, you know, because they have the support and the encouragement. So I will tell parents, let them figure it out. They have to learn these things on their own. Yeah.
Thank you, Frank. My daughter was not doing well in some of her subjects in 1 year. So I said to her, you know, it's okay. Maybe you need to repeat the year. And anyway, you're not going to NS. So, you know, you've got 2 years to repeat and still be at the same age as the boys. And actually, she didn't want that to happen. So realizing that it's her responsibility, then she started putting more effort. Instead of me getting worried about it and then nagging her to study harder or asking her to go for tuition, you know, I think the most important thing is that they start to take responsibility of the outcomes of decisions and actions that they take, and do it early in life, right? Once again, year 1, year 2, you know, take more risks. It's fine. So that year 3, year 4, they'll start to shift their behavior and become more responsible. Because as long as you are not giving them the sense of responsibility of their own life, then they will start to rebel because they feel that you're just controlling them, managing them. And it is part of the brain development process that they rebel. So it is parents who actually instigate or provoke this rebellion. So you need to really back off, and it takes courage and confidence to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a question here. My son, who is undergraduate, playing computer games for the whole month of his holiday. We as parents think he should do something useful during the holidays. What is your advice? I would say go for it. Let him play. He's an undergraduate. He has really made to university. Trust him. Maybe he just needs this time to chill. And, you know, doesn't mean the brain doesn't develop. The brain is developing differently when he's playing computer games. Just as play is as important as work. So leave him alone. I mean, why is it children going out to play tennis is okay, or they're going out to play soccer is okay, but playing computer games is not? So is this something to do with our judgment of computer games? reflect.
Maybe parents should join the kids at 5 o'clock in the morning and do a computer game with them and see what actually happens out there. There is a whole world out there, right? In computer games, right? Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong. There's a lot of interaction. There's a lot of collaboration. There's teamwork. That's multinational friendships that are being built. And I think it's a whole new world that parents don't understand because they're not in it. And sometimes I think it's nice for parents to get with the kid and say, okay, I'm joining you at 4 o'clock in the morning. Let's see what games you're playing. Maybe once in a while, I'll join you too. Hey, I think that'd be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So Daniel, when you play computer games, are you playing on your own or are you actually playing with somebody else in the virtual world?
Oh, actually, exactly right. I actually play with my friends online, and the game I play is actually a cooperative game. So we play as like a team of 5 or 4 or 3. And I actually learned a lot from these games, actually, a lot more than what parents normally think that we gain from games. I actually learned a lot about managing my anger because it's a game. So there will definitely be times where you lose. And there are a lot of situations where we get angry at each other. We actually will actually backstab each other. So let's say a bunch of us are playing. Like one of my friends will complain to me about another friend, and then there'll be all this drama. And it's through all this that we learn how to actually take a step back and just like realize, oh, it's actually just a game, and we need to manage our expectations, actually be more okay with each other, just being more open. And it actually really helped us to grow. It helped me a lot with my anger management, actually. Yeah, and I felt like I actually did gain a lot from playing these games.
Thank you for sharing that. I hope the parents are listening and realizing that computer games, do have its benefits. So trust them. Play Pokemon with your friend, your children, or some games like what Frank has suggested to you. Okay, there's another question here, Daniel. How about your dad? What role did he play in your growing up as a teenager?
So for my dad, he actually didn't really finish his education properly. He's from Malaysia, so it was actually really hard for him to talk to me about it. And the most he ever did was just constantly telling me, you need to do well in school, you need to do well in school, and that's all he said. And I guess in a sense, it was quite liberating because he gave me a lot of freedom. He just told me to do well in school. But the thing is, like, we didn't really have a lot of opportunities to talk to each other about it. I couldn't talk to him, oh, physics is doing like this, or like my math is going okay, or this. It's just because he doesn't relate, you know what I mean? He didn't actually do it. But I felt like the small pieces of advice that he gave me, such as just trying my best, or he told me to find a good group of friends to be with, like friends who try to study harder, and that will help me. Like this small advice that were just generally related to studying, but I felt like those really helped me out. And I felt like even though he played a really small role, I felt it still had an impact on my life. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can
So
I add
those of you who
something there?
if those of you who are wondering, the second student who's supposed to share, she will be sharing next Sunday instead, because we're going to be continuing with this. And by just having one student gives us a more opportunity to explore different topics and issues related to the student. Yes, Frank.
Okay, so with Daniel's dad, education is one area that he couldn't support you significantly, but your dad has so much other life experiences, right? Because the education, as far as I'm concerned, it gets you through the door for the first job, but once you're behind the door, there are many other softer skills that come into play. The kind of skills that your dad has learned, and many dads and moms have learned, So maybe the delineation of what we teach our children, let the schools teach what they have to teach, and back in the home, what do we teach them? We have to teach them things like emotional stamina. We teach them things like resilience. We teach them things like patience, collaboration, all these kind of soft skills that are going to be important for you when you get into your workplace, when you become an adult. And this is where parents can take over this mantle. Rather than repeat what the schools are doing, let's give them some schooling in other soft areas which may be useful for the kids in the long run. And this is where your dad can come into play, I'm sure, very significantly.
Thank you, Frank. So I hope the dads out there are listening, and also the mums who motivate the dad to get involved in parenting. There's a question here. If parents are not setting boundaries, children will blame parents of not being clear on the do's and don'ts. Again, right? I don't think anybody here said not to set boundaries. But on the other hand is not to be imposing and demanding to the point that the kids start to rebel and not take responsibility. I think what's more important as part of us in parenting is to invite the kids to take responsibility so that they don't end up blaming parents, blaming the world, blaming the school system, blaming the government, which has become like a thing to do when things don't go right. So teach them how to take responsibility, that you tell them what the boundaries are, and if they don't follow it, then make sure they understand the consequences. Okay, May, perhaps you'd like to take this question. What can parents do to help young children in primary school to handle bullies? Looking back at Daniel, for what do you wish your parents to do in handling any isolated or bullying cases as part of your experience in school?
Yeah, I'd like to say that bullying actually has a very long-lasting negative impact. So it is important that we check with our children. But sometimes they will say, use a word bully, but you have to check what exactly happened. What is the event? What were the actions? Okay. Bullying happens when there is an uneven power. That means someone who's older, bigger, or larger group confronting an individual, maybe a smaller, younger child. All right. And it's a repeated, unwarranted negative behavior on this child. So, and you find that the child is negatively impacted and felt hurt. Okay. It could be a verbal, it could be isolation, we don't want to play with you, isolate, and or it could be, sometimes it could be really even cyberbullying online. So parents, if you find that this happened, validate the emotions of the child. Ask him, how do you feel about it? And if he feels hurt, angry, please validate that. It's all right to be hurt and angry, all right? I think then you go into, okay, what can we do about this? Right? It's important to inform the teacher. So advise your child to let the teacher know, or you could write an email to the teacher. Do not get into also emotional about this, right? It's about problem solving, and advise your child that, hey, actually, sometimes these people, these children who behave this way towards us, they may hold their own issues, but of course their actions are not right. But maybe we want to find out what happened. And yeah, if let's say your child is really afraid, let the teachers handle it, okay? So please do that. And if need be, if the child is really hurt, I think it's advisable too that the child see a counselor, right? Because we don't want the child to feel like, lack of self-worth that would lead to, doing poorly in school and all sorts of negative behaviors in future. All right, that's my advice.
Thank you, May. Frank, would you like to add anything? Or Daniel, from your own experience, how you handle the bully? If there was any bullying in school?
There's a very good article in the newspaper today about bullying. And I think everyone in Straits Times is very good. I fully support what May has said, but I also like to expand this and bring some awareness of bullying in general. There are some studies that says that actually bullying starts from the home. And we all have to be very careful within the family to understand and look at how situations are developing. Sometimes, for example, between the siblings, right, there will be bullying, right? The elder boy, bullies the younger fella because it's bigger, as May said, right? And that is part and parcel of growing up. And if it's done in a very controlled, watchful environment, let it happen, and then let them learn lessons from it, because it is survival lessons. It's about how to survive in the world out there, and it does happen. You cannot eradicate it. But what is very important is that between the adults in the family, there must be great concern about how we are dealing with each other, particularly the parents, right? Between the parents, we can have situations where a father may be overly bullying over the wife, or even the other way around, and the kids are watching this, and they're watching how people respond. So when it comes to bullying, we must be very clear about whether it is happening within our own family environment, between husband and wife, between parents and their other elders who are in the house, between the siblings, and then find a way to bring it under control, to control our own behavior and how we relate to others. So I think we have to also keep an eye on that part. Daniel. Yeah.
Oh, so I guess I'm not too comfortable to share what actually happened, but I just wanted to say that how I dealt with it was I mostly just kept quiet about it. I didn't actually share my parents with it, so I actually just went through with it and just waited out primary school and hope things got better in secondary school, which I felt that was definitely not the right thing to do. I definitely should have told my parents about it, but I guess I don't know, maybe back then I was too young to actually realize what was happening. I just felt, oh, this was normal since, you know, this all I experienced, and I just felt it was normal. I should just went with it, and yeah, I guess that could happen to some people too. I don't know.
Thank you. Well, I'm very grateful to my father for teaching me karate since I was 5 years old. So nobody ever messed with me. And it also gave me a sense of confidence that if people didn't want to hang out with me, that's okay too. You know, it's like I've got a good family to go home to every day. So I think what's really important is to give your children the sense that, you know, it's okay if your friends don't accept you, but, you know, we love you. And they will start to adjust rather than making them feel inadequate. Equip them with skills that they can defend themselves, and, you know, not to blame the world for how they are being intimidated. Instead is to give them a sense of confidence with skills and saying that, you know, just being able to say the words, "Don't mess with me," gives them the sense to stand up, and send them for a martial arts course, give them a skill that they can defend themselves. For me, I mean, when I was dating a young guy and we went out together and he was being threatened, I was the one who stepped forward and defended him, right? So it was ironic, but it just shows that confidence comes from knowing that, you know, I can take care of myself, and not only I can take care of myself, I can take care of any of my friends who may be threatened. So equip them instead of trying to fix other kids or fix a situation. Yeah, yourself. Okay, another question here is, how did you come across the course, Daniel? Did you take it voluntarily, or were you referred to this course by your parents? And if parents recommended the course to you, would you have taken it, or would you have objected to it?
Okay, so I actually said it during the presentation, but I actually found from my seniors about the course. And regarding your question, if my parents were to have recommended, I guess if my parents would recommend it, I would have said no. I don't know. It's really weird. It's like if my friends recommend me, I'll be like, oh wow, you know, I'll definitely do it. But if my parents recommend me, it feels very feels like they're trying to, that there's a message, that there's something that they wanna impose on me. I guess I'll be more unwilling, yes.
That they want to fix you.
Yeah, it feels like they want to fix me. They're sending me to a repair shop or something.
And we have seen that whenever we open courses for teenagers, the teenagers don't want to come for the course. And the parents call us up and, you know, how do we make my teenagers to come? And really, you can't force them. So listen to what Daniel has said. Talk to their friends, talk to their aunts and uncles who may be more able to suggest, And let's say if Daniel likes his uncle, it's to go through the uncle, right? If the uncle says something to Daniel, Daniel says, oh yeah, that's a good idea. But if dad says it or mom says it, forget it. So use the right strategy. Be skillful, creative. And you don't have to claim credit for it either. Okay. Is it common for early 20s to engage regularly in community work and gym exercise, but need to ask them to help in housework? Who would like to answer this? Daniel, do you help in at home in housework, or would you rather be doing community work and being a volunteer and helping somebody else out there?
Honestly, can I just say that I don't do both, so I feel quite bad now. But housework. I definitely feel quite bad, but like I said, I learned to do it mostly in RC, which I'm really thankful for. But I guess during this circuit breaker period where I came at home, I guess I reverted back into relying on my parents. I guess something about housework. It's like I'd rather just leave all the dishes there until I no more dishes, then I wash everything at once, than to just keep doing it. I don't know. It feels very repetitive. I guess that's a bad thing. I still try to fix it. It's rough, yeah.
Okay, Daniel, it's all right. You don't have to feel bad about it. I think that if kids go out and help others, that's really good. And why they don't help in housework is because they're being asked to. It may be expected of them, which kids don't like to do what's expected of them. And also when they help outside, they get appreciation. So if they do any housework at home, do they get appreciated? Or do they get slighted? Like, wow, finally, you clean your room. Instead, just say, wow, you clean your room. Fantastic. Now let me give you a treat. Use the dopamine effect, right? So when they do something that's positive, give them a reward, especially compliment them, make them feel appreciated for their effort instead of worse being put down, like finally you do. And that is the worst put down. And for sure, they will not do it again. Any comments from Frank or May on this?
It's another part of that growing up journey. You know, it's even if they don't want to join the parents in the community work and social work, but they see the parents doing that and they see how much joy it gives the parents. I will not be surprised somewhere later in their lives they will begin to do that. You know, I've seen many who have followed in their parents' footsteps later in their lives, but at that moment in time, there is something else that is more important to them in their mind. You know what I mean? So yes, I think dishes and doing up your bed and keeping your room clean, these are little, I would say, little boundaries that you can be persistent over, but you don't have to lose a relationship over it. Let me put it that way. And they were, as Daniel says, as soon as he went into the hostel, he was doing it, right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, the parents' image will be back of their head, you know, and they will remember when they do something. I remember my mom or my dad or both of them telling me this. Yeah. Right.
Thank you. May, would you like to add?
Yeah, I agree fully. I had this, how to say, I gave up on asking my son to, you know, not pull out his shirt and, you know, messed up the wardrobe and, you know, insisted that he had to put everything back nicely. But I really gave up because it just never happened. And after a while, at one stage, I was quite upset. I pushed all his clothes onto the floor and he ended up just walking in and out and it didn't bother him at all. So I lost the battle when I folded everything back and put back into the wardrobe. And guess what? After NS, perfect. He does his own laundry. His wardrobe is really neat and tidy. Yeah. I guess, you know, somehow the timing, they have their own timing.
Wonderful. And if it's a girl, you know, then she will do it when she gets married. And if she doesn't do it, hopefully she marries a guy who loves housework. If not, it'll be, you know, she'll learn, and then the second marriage, she'll do better.
I think the key point here is parents need to have two lists. One is the small stuff list. The other one is the big stuff list. Don't sweat the small stuff, right? be careful with the big ones. Be there and be present for the big ones. But the small stuff, it will catch up with time. Learn how to differentiate between the two.
Thank you. Well, it's almost time. Well, actually, it's just past time. I'm, delighted that 90 of you are still staying on. So obviously, you are very interested in this topic, and we are also very interested in opening up, different insights for you to find out more about what teenagers go through. So because of that, in June, we're going to be transforming this, probably following very similar lines, and have more students come into our platform here, our virtual room here, to share their journey. So next week, you will see Marissa, who's going to be sharing about her journey and how her insights and shifts helped to improve her relationship with her parents that she had many challenges with for many years. So before we end today, I'd like to just invite everyone in this forum to say a few words before we close. So who would like to go first?
I think there are 3 words that I think are going to be important, which I shared before, for parents to help their children acquire these 3 skills, this skill set, or these 3 things. One is ownership, to take ownership over their lives, increasingly as they get older, to get greater ownership for their lives. And the second one is to take greater responsibility for their actions and their thoughts, and to be more accountable to them. If you remember these 3, and the parent's role in the family is to bring this about and to help the child understand, because these 3 words, ownership, responsibility, and accountability, is going to serve them well in their lives.
Okay, thanks, Frank. I'd like to add that just now when Daniel mentioned about, having this uncertainty about wanting to be accepted by friends, this lack of confidence, I think it is important that parents really accept and understand our children, right? No blaming and no criticism, because that really doesn't help at all. And one thing which I thought that is really useful is to really focus on the strength. Now, sometimes they may not have found their strengths, so it's useful to expose them to activities. And actually, CCAs help a lot. Right? The school extracurricular activities do help a lot. So we let them, sometimes if they are not academically so doing very well, I think other activities that they are excelling in, it would be good. Computer games actually really fit this growth mindset of focusing on, effort pays, because if you play more and more and put in more effort, you get better at it. The focus, you need to be attentive, and also the strategies. So all this is growth mindset. So if we can understand that and try and apply that to their learning, which is so helpful for them. All right. So yeah, accept them and understand them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
So one last thing I want to say is for parents, when their kids are going through school life, just don't have that many don't put too much expectation on them. If they are to game, they sleep late or anything. Don't be too overbearing on them. Eventually they will realize what they need to do. They realize, oh, actually I should study harder, everything. And for me personally, I realized a lot of the things I actually learned from myself. And I realized during school that I actually used to play games a lot, and during school I realized that, hey, actually I don't want to waste my time here. I want to actually do well. And eventually without my parents asking me to stop, I actually stopped playing and just study hard. So I think it's good to really trust your children, and I'm definitely sure that they will realize what's best for them. And yeah, I think that's the answer.
Thank you, Daniel. And tomorrow, look out in the live section of the Straits Times. There will be an article that I have contributed under Living Well on basically why teenagers become very judgmental of their parents. And when they do, they will put up a wall they are not going to share. And especially when they feel their parents are not accepting of them and judges them too much. So it's really important when our children talk to us and share something with us that we're just going to be open and listen, and not to try to always advise them and give our opinion, because they might actually feel that your opinion doesn't jive with what they think, or might even be repulsed by the opinion, and then they'll start to retreat and say less and less. So a lot of times it's like when we talk to someone, if we feel that they are judging us and criticizing us, then we also don't want to talk to these people. And maybe in your life, you would know who these people are that you rather not speak to, rather not share with. So similarly with your children. So I look forward to having all my co-hosts join me again next week, and to all of you as well, to also invite your fellow parents who would benefit from this series that we're continuing into June. And thank you very much, Daniel, for your courage and your openness and your big heart to share. And I'm sure this is going to go well into your future.
Thank you.
So thank you, everyone, and see you all next Sunday. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.